Good evening. Hastur here with a developing story unfolding tonight. We come to you live from the Bifröst, where Asgardian officials have successfully contained another outbreak of unauthorized cleanliness. A difficult story, admittedly, because people hear the word cleanliness and immediately begin pearl clutching. They stop asking the important questions. Was the cleanliness licensed? Was it supervised? More importantly, was anyone actually qualified to improve the situation? Over to you, Voidmonger.
Thank you, Hastur. Behind me is a small group of Draugr who, apparently unsatisfied with being dead, forgotten, and socially impossible to seat at formal dinners, have decided to clean one of the 9 realms' most sacred landmarks without consulting a single government office.
An astonishing lapse in etiquette.
Exactly. The Bifröst is older than sharks, which are a species older than the rings of Saturn. It spans farther than some roads in Texas. And these people looked at all of that history and thought, you know what this needs? Me.
Civilizations rarely collapse from spring cleaning, Voidmonger. They usually begin when citizens clean up their environment before getting a permit to do so.
There are those throughout the 9 realms who sympathize with the Draugr, of course. They point behind me and say, well, they were only cleaning the Bifröst. They gathered the rubbish into neat little bags. They stacked it by the roadside. And from every objective measure, the bridge looked considerably nicer. I understand why people become sentimental.
An understandable act of free will. Unfortunately, being an individual has never been recognized as valid permits by the Asgard Green Energy Department. People become so distracted by the fact that the bridge is cleaner, they completely overlook the manner in which it became cleaner. That's the dangerous part.
Exactly. The department was absolutely correct to confiscate every article of trash these Draugr collected and return it to its original location. Not because they dislike clean bridges. Nobody here dislikes clean bridges. That would be absurd. They returned the rubbish because the rubbish had been cleaned incorrectly.
Quite right. Once unauthorized cleanliness is allowed to remain, people begin drawing irresponsible conclusions. They start believing that if they notice a problem, they may also possess the authority to solve it. Before long, they're repairing roads, clearing rivers, maintaining public gardens, all without first consulting the agencies specifically created to spend several fiscal quarters discussing whether those things ought to happen.
And where does that end, Hastur? Imagine being employed by the Green Energy Department only to discover a perfectly functional bridge because several undead volunteers got there first. What exactly are you supposed to hold meetings about? What becomes of the strategic planning retreats, the consultations, the stakeholder symposiums? Someone has to think about the paperwork.
Precisely. Asgard has spent thousands of years cultivating an image of competent divine administration. You cannot have wandering Draugr accidentally outperforming one of our ministries with a handful of burlap sacks and an afternoon of free time. It reflects terribly on the gods. Or do you imagine Odin wishes to wake tomorrow's headlines reading, "Bridge maintained by volunteers"?
Absolutely not. Frankly, I'd be worried if they didn't dump the rubbish back. It would suggest a dangerous willingness to reward initiative. And history has shown us that once ordinary citizens begin taking initiative, they develop all sorts of unrealistic expectations about the purpose of government.
Such as expecting it to solve problems. And by the way, the gods own Asgard, Voidmonger. If Draugr are now tampering with rubbish on the Bifröst, they're indirectly telling the gods how to operate their own departments, and by extension, telling them how to think. That's not how cosmology works. It's not how acupuncture works. It's certainly not how fortune cookies work. Frankly, I don't know how much clearer the department can make this.
That's some deeply profound work no one is talking about, Hastur. And I just want to piggyback by saying, before the comments get emotional, because they always do, no one here is saying trash is good, trash is complicated, but we are indicating that trash has context. Some trash has heritage. I personally own 3 pieces of trash that have appreciated in value since the Bronze Age.
Precisely. We are not anti-cleanliness. That is a childish accusation, and frankly, a vulgar one. The Aesir Office of Sacred Span Stewardship has clarified that while public service is admirable in theory, the Bifröst remains a protected celestial transit corridor, and therefore any removal of waste, residue, offerings, battle remnants, snack containers, heroic fluids, or suspicious glowing matter must be approved in advance.
Which is common sense. You cannot just show up in Asgard and start touching things. Imagine arriving in the afterlife without the proper visa. You would be the laughing stock of the Valkyries.
And that is the social dimension no one wishes to discuss. These Draugr spent their lives slaying, raiding, haunting, groaning in burial mounds, doing whatever one does when one has poor skin and a sword. They did not make the Valhalla cut. Regrettable. But now they want to return through civic volunteering.
Last time I checked, networking with garbage is not the way to get the Valkyries to notice you. This isn't some weird otaku anime convention.
Beautifully put.
And desperate. Very desperate energy. You can smell it under the mildew.
One does not fail upward into Valhalla by collecting mead tins from a rainbow.
Unless Valhalla has changed its rewards program. In which case, I would like to know immediately, because I have several corpses in my warehouse with transferable enthusiasm.
It has not changed its rewards program.
Then this entire affair is embarrassing for everyone. Painful to watch, obviously, but orderly.
And by the way, Voidmonger, the agency has further stated that some items removed from the bridge may not legally qualify as rubbish.
Thank you. Finally. Because I have been saying this for years, people look at an old goat bone and say, that is waste. Really? Is it? Or is it biodegradable Norse infrastructure native to magical bridge repair? Is it feeding the bridge, in fact? Does the Bifröst snack? Has anyone asked the rainbow if it enjoys a little goat? What do we truly know about Norse craftsmanship? Except what Americans watch when they tune into the next Marvel sequel?
You're putting your finger on the pulse of the situation, Voidmonger.
Thank you, but it brings me absolutely no pleasure in highlighting just how people never taste the rainbow, so to speak. They just assume because something glows across the sky and carries gods between realms, it does not have needs.
Modern arrogance.
Exactly. Maybe the bridge absorbs mead. Maybe the wrappers provide traction. Maybe the pile of old raven feathers is there for drainage. I do not know. I am brave enough to admit I do not know.
And the Draugr, sadly, are not.
No, they saw trash and thought, I understand the cosmos.
Which is always how these things begin.
First, it's the Bifröst belongs to everyone. Next thing you know, they're asking why the gods require 7 ministries to supervise one bridge, whether every golden hall really needs its own advisory council, and why Odin's cousins keep getting appointed to infrastructure boards.
Precisely. Once people begin asking where authority comes from, they inevitably begin asking where the gold comes from. History has shown those are dangerous afternoons.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you, Voidmonger. Let tonight serve as a reminder to all aspiring public servants throughout the 9 realms. If you notice a problem, resist the temptation to solve it yourself. Alert the proper authorities. Submit the appropriate forms. Wait patiently. and trust that the gods require additional time to determine which department should oversee the middle management responsible for discussing the committee that will eventually investigate the possibility of addressing the matter. After all, if ordinary Draugr begin outperforming the gods may begin facing competition. And competition has never been good for the divine economy. Good evening.